sure if they are logged in. Also appreciate and welcome members of the public who should take time to be part of this meeting and listen and hear what we are discussing. Not forgetting members of media and the support staff of this committee. You're all welcome. The National Treasury and other members, stakeholders who are invited, I want to request that you must feel free to participate in this meeting because it's a very important meeting to all of us. Let me just go straight to the objective of the meeting for those who might not be clear on why this meeting, what informs this meeting. This meeting is a follow-up on the report received from the legacy report on OR Tambo District Municipality.
Это, ребята, 4 подземных лабиринта? Нифига себе, какой же поезд-пожиратель страшный! Не ешь меня, не ешь, не ешь, нет!
Ой, опять кто-то приперся. Ну, что тебе нужно от меня?
Окей, хорошо. Все вы здоровы, ребята.
It's a follow-up meeting on the findings from the previous committee in Fifth Parliament. The visit or the oversight was taken on the 30th July to the 3rd of August 2018. And this is a decision that we have taken last year, that OR Tambo is one of the district municipalities or the municipality that we will visit as appropriations during our oversight week. But because of the situation that we find ourselves in, we have no option but to use the visual platform. Honorable members, this was after the previous mayor of OR Tambo petitioned the NCOP requesting intervention after the National Treasury withheld 90 million rands of the municipal infrastructure grant, the MIG, allocated due to improper reporting, non-registration of projects, and slow take-up of projects. And after interventions between OR Tambo District Municipality, National Treasury, and the then committee, the committee resolved to conduct an oversight visit to assess whether the municipal infrastructure grant funding was spent in accordance with the grant purpose and determine value for money. That is our main mandate. As we appropriate and allocate money, approve money allocated to the sectors, departments, and municipalities, we need to find out if there's value for money services, quality services are given to the recipient of the services. As the current committee, we extract this from the legacy report, as I indicated above, of the previous committee, and we resolved to make follow-up in order to close this matter. It is for this reason that we requested the executive mayor of the OR Tambo and her team to provide us an update on the water and sanitation projects that were visited in 2018. We need to be able to see if there's progress in that regard from our Tambo District Municipality that is going to brief us, give us an account on the progress made since 2018 on those projects. And the delegation from the municipality is led by the mayor, who I'm told will be joining us at any time, but I'm told also that the deputy mayor is online. Above, including the people that we have invited, I have indicated the National Copter, Municipal Infrastructure Agent, National Treasury, I have indicated, Department of Water Affairs, we've also invited the AG of South Africa, Copter in the Eastern Cape Department, Treasury Department in the Eastern Cape, Portfolio Committee on Copter Eastern Cape, Portfolio Committee on Finance from Eastern Cape, and we could do a mistake of not inviting SALGA. Honorable members and councillors and the stakeholders that we have invited, I want to appreciate your availability and you're welcome to participate in this meeting so that we can be able to resolve and serve the people who have sent us here as public reps. I want to thank this opportunity that under the circumstances, we are still able to meet, discuss, and see how best we can service the communities that have hope and trust on us. The meeting is, I have just declared the meeting officially open, and I'm going to check with the Secretary Libabalo to indicate on apologies that, if any, that we have received.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning, honorable members. Chairperson, from the committee, we only received one apology from Mr. Karim. The other members, I was rather apology that we other apologies that we received from the ministers, relevant ministers, because today there is a cabinet meeting, so they are unable to join us. I received an apology from the Deputy Minister Bapela. Thank you, Chairperson. Okay. Those are the two apologies that we received.
Thank you. Honorable members, I think we can note the apologies and accept them. Members, Honorable Raila.
Good morning, Chairperson. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Yeah, I think the apologies are noted, and yeah, I do know that Mr. Okamp is struggling to get in, but I know Libode is busy assisting him, so thank you for that. Chairperson, my concern is the presence of the mayor. You know, I think that one needs to ask what would be more important in the morning than to deal your issues with with Parliament, who's trying to step in and intervene for the benefit of the municipality. And I'm not sure if the mayor couldn't get out of bed on time this morning or what the story is, but I think we need an answer on that, please.
May I provide an update? I think the Honorable Mayor has joined the meeting now, Chairperson.
Yeah, I wanted to say that we have received an apology that she's on her way because she wants to they want to be in a boardroom with some of the members of her team, and she was driving to the office. I don't know how far is she from the office, but on our head that members have expected you to have been here earlier and lead by example, but no problem. We welcome you. Thank you for honoring the meeting. With that, I'm now going to go to the next item on the agenda, and I hope members have received the agenda together with the documents for the meeting. We'll go straight. Honorable Mayor, I just forgot the name. It's Councillor who, Luabalo?
Executive Councillor Sokanyele Chairperson.
Okay. Honorable Sokanyile, you're welcome. My apologies for forgetting the name. You are very much welcome, and I'm going to hand over to you now to lead in the presentation. I have briefed the meeting already on where the focus is. We're making a follow-up on the findings as a result of the oversight done by the previous Select Committee on Appropriation in 2018. The focus is on the sanitation and the water. So may I request that you take over and lead. We'll hear from you if you open, and maybe someone from your entourage, you can inform us or also introduce them.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Let me greet you first. Let me greet the members of the Select Committee. Let me greet the other people who have been invited here.
Sorry,
AG.
sorry, Mayor. Can you switch your video on?
Oh,
please? Would like to see you.
Thank you. Chairperson.
Clearly.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me greet you, Chairperson. Let me greet the members of the Select Committee. Let me greet AG, the other people that have been invited here from the departments. Let me greet them here. And the administration from the district municipality. And for arriving 2 minutes late in linking with the Zoom, then I go to them. But when you were doing the opening the secretary device that I'm with, Honorable Ngongwa, I'm with the MLA, I'm with the MMC for biosay. Then also on the administration side, Mr. Mpako, the manager, Mr. Matomela, who will lead our in water and sanitation officer, Mr. Mulek, in the those that's meeting today, our request has been submitted to the committee.
Thank you very much. Honorable Matamela. Matomela. Can you put the presentation on the, okay, it's there. Thank you. Can members see the presentation? Honorable members?
Yes, we can see the presentation.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chairperson of the Select Committee. Let me greet you and greet the members of the Select Committee, observing all the protocols. Let me greet the Honorable Executive Mayor and the members of the Mayoral Committee. Let me greet the administration, both from the Select Committee parliamentary side. I observe also that the DG of the province, let me greet, also I observe it here, colleagues from National Treasurer, colleagues from COGTA, and everyone observing all the protocol. Let me say good morning in this morning. As I've been mandated by the Honorable Executive Mayor, I'll just be going through the presentation that has been submitted in summary on a PowerPoint presentation, which has been extrapolated from the report that has been submitted to the Select Committee. I think the presentation, Honorable Chair, has been reflected on the screen. This is an overview of the report, where it will cover the introduction, just give an overview, and then zoom into the response of the Select Committee. But how we have done the report, we have looked on it in terms of the response on the recommendations that emerged on two areas. We look on the issues, which is part one, that we're basically dealing with governance issues, and we provided those response. And then we zoom in on part one, which we're dealing with now, the water and sanitation projects that we basically visited in that regard. And then it will conclude. Thanks very much. This report, as you have alluded, Chair, is prepared for the Select Committee on Appropriations, and it serves to actually brief the committee on the progress made to date by the Tambo District Municipality with respect to the MIP projects which were visited, as we have alluded, from the 30th of July to the 3rd of August. We acknowledge that in July up to August, the committee visited Tambo in response to the issues of MIG, as we have already reflected on. And in that visit, there were some projects that were selected that were visited. And upon the visit, the committee compiled a report with specific findings and recommendations, necessitating now the municipality, district municipality, to make a response and attend on all the matters. This report then provides those response on those matters as requested by the committee. In its nature, Honourable Chair, the report, as I've indicated, there are governance issues, but from the project-related issues, it provides issues around which project that we visited, the budget, the total expenditure, the commission, the challenges and the remedial actions as per the recommendation in that regard. As I've indicated also that the report is in twofold, we'll just touch on the issues of recommendation that were more on governance, and then from there, we'll touch on project-related issues. For you, Chairperson, and the committee, I think it's proper to give that over time, I think, from 2018 visit up to now, there hasn't been change in terms of the overview of the municipality, the district, as well in the Eastern Cape, and we are a C2 district municipality, which is a more a rural district in nature. We have our local municipalities who haven't been affected by any change in terms of demarcation, where we have 5 local municipalities: your King Sabata Tangebo local municipality, your Mdoni local municipality, your Nyandeni local municipality, Port St. John's local municipality, and Ingquza Hill local municipality. So there isn't a change. That's just an overview of the district municipality itself in terms of as a district where we provide. I think it's quite proper also, Honourable Chair, to reflect that as a district, we have a vision and we envisage this district to be a prosperous, vibrant, innovative, and a people-centered district. And as such, we have a mission where our intention is to provide the cost-sustainable service and support in fulfilling its mandate through a developmental local government approach. And as a Tambo, we remain in terms of pursuing a socio-economic developmental agenda that will provide and improve quality of life and affirm the dignity of the people of Tambo. So that's what we envisage, and our mission sit in that context as a district municipality. I think just for reflection, Chair, we also extrapolated and said, how is Tambo in terms of population over years? And looking on that, comparable to national, comparable to the province, and comparable extrapolating from the district itself, and look in terms of the percentage increase in terms of the population. If you look, we have just extrapolated to say what has been the increase in terms of our population. We've provided that starting from 2008 to 2018, where we have the census evidence in terms of that, to say what are the numbers of our population. You can see, Chairperson, as much as we're saying that we're a 93% rural district, but generally, there's an increase in terms of our population. And if you look on that from actually 2008 to 2018, we are more than 1% average annual growth in terms of our population, as compared to the national of 1.6, and as compared to the 0.94% of the province. And it tells you that as much as we are rural, in the population average increase, we are even more than the province itself. So it's one of the biggest region or district in the province itself in terms of numbers and the population growth. Zooming in, Chairperson, having provided that overview, I'm just zooming in on some of the issues that the committee have just provided, as I've indicated that these are the issues of governance. I think when the committee came and made a visit, they observed that whilst there was the pattern of spending was impressive in Tambo, the committee noted that the issue of monitoring and evaluation was not properly done to ensure the value for money that's spent in that regard. We acknowledge, Chairperson, that Tambo by that time as a municipality, its monitoring and evaluation mechanism had been relatively new. When we presented to the committee, we indicated that we have started to establish your performance monitoring and evaluation office by 2017. However, we're saying we're working with a good working relations with the National Department of Water Affairs, Water and Sanitation, your COGTA, your National Treasury, where the issue of the monitoring on grants has been done. I think there are schedules that are put in the IDP and budget process plan and performance evaluation, where those entities form part of the evaluation of the project, and to ensure that there is monitoring in that regard. As much as our performance monitoring was at infant stages, and which was still trying to ensure that it reached the maturity. But we work with those parties in ensuring that on the grant point of view, there is proper monitoring regulations as such. Again, Chairperson, I think the committee noted that as attested by the Auditor General then, that when it visited the performance management assessment was only conducted at the director level. This links to the first response, Chairperson, that by then we acknowledge that as an institution, we have started to ensure then that we deal with the policy framework in terms of performance management, which was relatively new and the policy framework. And at the time, we have introduced the performance management at the level of a senior management, and a decision was taken, therefore, to cascade it to the level of individual performance. And as such, I think as where we are sitting, we are starting to deal with the matter within the level of the middle managers to ensure then that there are accountability plans. So what was an approach from the management, because this was new, was to inculcate a culture of performance. After we inculcated with that, from the senior management point of view, and then from there, we moved to cascade it to a level of middle managers. And then from there, we can roll it to the level of all the staff members in the institution so that we promote the culture of performance in that regard. Again, I think the committee observed that there was an issue in relation to the procurement of Amatola water, which by that time the committee recommended that let's do our own investigation and ensuring that this was regularized. If I can just give a minute background on that. Here we had an Amatola Water Board, which is a water entity for the National Department of Water, which was actually implementing your RPIC and part of co-funding for the department when the funding was still a Schedule 6B. And the funding then was changed to the Schedule 5B, which now directly to the municipality, but with the continuation of the contract. But that contract on its own was not regularized in terms of the MFMA, and therefore causing some issues of irregularities in terms of the expenditure. We can confirm to the committee that the Tambo District Municipality Management took upon itself to engage in terms of legalities on that and ensure then that the appointment of Amatola Water has been regularized as a public entity in compliance to Section 110 of the MFMA to ensure then that that has been regularized. As we speak, Chairperson, we can confirm that in the year crossing that, which is the last financial year, that regularization in terms of Section 110 of the MFMA was part of the audit, and there were no findings so far in terms of that program, in ensuring that Amatola Water has been appointed as an entity for the as an implementing agent of the water in terms of that contractual implementation. Again, I think the committee made the recommendations on issues of communication, where it says that therefore that they need to be strengthening in terms of our communication strategy to ensure that decision of the council structures are communicated to all levels within the institution. I think we have made strides in that, in strengthening our communication machinery and communication approach. As such, Jefferson, we have been able to ensure that as part of our council decision, our communication led by head of communication, it was by that time we had a gap in terms of filling the position, form part of the council decision and ensuring that each department, including the legislative services, because we're piloting this separation of powers, and therefore form part of the council decision so that they can be rolled out in that context. So it's part of ensuring that we roll out communication of council decision. So across all functional areas in the institution, part communication is at the center so that we communicate to our stakeholders and to all our parties in terms of ensuring that we respond to the matters. The other part that was noted by the committee has been the issue of the ORTAM having an accumulative outstanding debt and increasing accruals in that regard. Chairperson, we also noted that, and we have responded in that regard to say this has been caused by various issues that we have observed as a municipality. One around the issues is the issue of the properties of the district, that in terms of now the rental agreements, that we build the property owners whilst they are no longer occupying their properties, making delays and ensuring that there's accumulative debt. The issue of old infrastructure, which caused some leak, which impact on the water losses. And again, the debt book that has been sitting with the individuals that were actually benefiting from the human settlement, your reconstruction and development program houses, which are not in nature going to be built but are indigents. And as a result, the municipality have embarked on a data cleansing to ensure that you are able to pick up those indigents and you write off in terms of when necessary after due process. And already there is a process that has gone to council to say these are indigents that should not be built as such, should be provided with a free basic water in line with the policy, and therefore so that we can reduce the accumulated debt in that regard. Again, in terms of the accruals, we note that this has been caused by a challenge in terms of the infrastructure payments in the close of the financial year. And I think from the financial part, colleagues will just explain in terms of how to deal with that and ensuring that we deal with the matter of reducing accruals in the end of financial year. Again, I think there was an issue that emerged from the committee which observed that the incorrect balances on financial statement, which was found and presented by Auditor General in that regard, and material misstatements in that regard. And I think the response to that is that the municipality had engage a specialist in dealing with that matter so that it deals with its asset register, dealing with your work in progress, which is work in progress project and completed project. So in terms of assets, how to then appropriate those in terms of those that are in the work in progress and those that are actually have to be put on the asset register so that that can be complied to in terms of the annual financial statement. Again, in terms of though the Libode was visited by the committee, I think there's been a governance issue that, and we have responded at the project level. The committee made a concern in terms of saying, observing that they found that low and having concern that they may have escalating costs in that. We noted that one of the key issues is that in terms of the evaluation, in terms of the PPPF, we awarded the contract as a municipality on the basis of considering all those and the functionality. But however, we're noting that some of the issues that cause that may have caused fears or alleged fears in terms of the committee is that our project are multi-year. If now in terms of your award is this year, escalating costs therefore are actually one of the issues that we observed, but we're trying to deal with that. I think we'll zoom in terms of the project itself on the progress so that we allay the fears that were observed by the committee in terms of that project itself, Jefferson. Again, I think the committee observed that across the district, there was somehow a use of the same consultants on the projects, raising concern about our SM processes and the issue of possible fronting. I think what we did as part of the mechanism in terms of response of the mechanism in OR Tambo has been to ensure then that we did what is called a appointment of panel of consultants in a competitive bid, Jefferson. And those panel of consultants are appointed for a certain period. We open it to ensure that all of them, they participate. Now, if you go around, you'll find that for this certain period of time, those that have been awarded will be the ones that are working. And that was a transparent and a fair process in that regard. Again, that was a strategy of the management to ensure then that we deal with the issue of irregularities in terms of our appointment. And again, the accountability so that we are able to sign service level agreement with those consultants and they deal with the project. And it was one of the strategies that we came about to ensure that projects are being completed and are complied to the standards as such. So we dealt with that better, Chairperson. The other issue has been the issue around a number of projects delayed due to conductors' experience cash flow challenges that were observed in terms of the award, and the committee was now concerned in terms of saying how do then these were awarded in terms of the tender process. We want to reflect that as management, we're ensuring that there's a turnaround time in terms of the bids for the awards, and again to ensure that the committee sit regularly in ensuring that there's a response in terms of SCM and actually awarding contracts in that regard, Jefferson. I think those were the issues and the response basically on the governance issues that were picked up by the committee in terms of how we responded and ongoing in terms of those matters. But moving, Jefferson, to the second part of the report, I think the second part of the report is basically dealing with projects that were visited in terms of the progress as I've alluded. The first project that we want to reflect on is the Mangxamfu water supply. Jefferson, I think I'm not going to dwell much, but just to indicate, as the committee have actually made a request on what actually had happened or how far are these projects. This project, as it was visited, is at Mdoni. These are the consultants that are on site. And again, there are two contracts that actually are there in Mangxamfu. In the explanation we give, the contract name, and then the consultant, which is the TUSO consultants, and these are the costs of the consultant. When the construction have started, which was in 2015, the scheduled completion date was in 2016, but this was revised to the actual completion of the 5th of November in 2019, we can confirm that the project now is 100% complete. This was a description of the work that needs to be done, starting from 2011 in terms of the planning of the project and the design in terms of the phase 1, as well as now, which was more on the source development and the bulk reticulation, and the phase 2 was dealing with more the work of the reticulation as such. We started in 2013 and moved in awards then in 2015. The Mangxamfu water supply as outside in Hlonhlo, those villages that have been reflected there, which is Hlabati, Kwamadiba, Mpombo, Mdyobe, Kambane, Zahobeni, and Gancho, which are villages that are around the area of Umhlonhlo area. We can move to now zooming in. As I've indicated, there were 2 contracts in terms of that. You have 2 contractors that were on site with the scope of work have articulated there. I'm not going to dwell much in terms of that, but those this is the award for the contractor, which was Qualo. These were the variations that had happened and the total cost in terms of that. You can see also we've been able to extrapolate to say what has been now the cost for the variance in that, because the additional work that has been picked up at that on site needs to be dealt with in terms of that contract. These were the costs and all that, and the balance on the project so far. Noting that the project is 100% complete, and now the water is functional. The second contractor within that project is the bid line, as reflected in the next slide. Again, we've extrapolated the contract amount, the variance in terms of that contract, what were the additional work that emerged in terms of that, because as you work in terms of the rural communities, in some other instances, you observe that there's a infills in terms of some households, as well as the other communities that you find out it's either your pipeline cut across those communities, so that you ensure that you deal with issues of vandalism. They are able to accommodate those people, and then they cause those variances in that regard. But those are the additional work that are aligned to the variance in that regard. And the balance of work, which is still 535,000 in terms of the balance in that regard. Again, we were able to extrapolate to say these were the employment opportunities that have been actually benefiting in terms of that contract. You can observe that there, within the implementation of the project, the Tambo Municipality has been able to create 72 jobs, looking on the adults, women, youth, and people with disabilities. So unfortunate that there were no people with disabilities that have been actually had opportunity in that project. Again, we've extrapolated in terms of what was the SMME participation in the contract, breaking down in terms of various SMMEs that have been able to participate in the project itself, and the costs that are associated with that in terms of those are actually SMMEs. You can move on the slides, Secretariat. I think again, therefore, we highlight because the project itself, if you observe in the first slide, we said there were anticipated time of completion. However, those were revised. There were some delays that were done, and we indicate what are the challenges and delays in that project. We allude that one of the key issues with the main contractors' cash flow. I think we know that our previous disadvantaged contractors generally had problems of cash flows. Again, there's an issue of our entity, which is ESCOM, delay to connect to the project. This has been caused because of our rural nature. I know that with our partners, Cogta, Water Affairs, and everyone, we're engaging ESCOM to ensure that at least when we start the project, they can be able to put the necessary infrastructure in that regard. Again, some of the subcontractors, as we deal with subcontractors, to actually participate and ensure that we have SMME participation. But in generally, they are not in that level. After we've given them opportunity, due to their cash flow, they are unable to execute the work, causing the delays. In some instances, we're indicating that for the reservoir, we're at the stage of even changing the contractor, but we've completed the project in that regard. Then the issue of the non-payment of labor by the contractors, which is caused by these cash flows, causing sorry, causing some dispute in the communities. And those issues, I think, when the committee visited, those are some of the issues that we highlighted. Those issues were resolved in that instance. Again, we had an issue whereby the people of Kalina, there was unrest in terms of the electrification. And what had happened when they had the electrification challenge, they went to where the line that goes to the project and vandalized that line. You can see that as much as our people need services, but you know, when there are these issues, those community unrest, they go and cause a problem in the contract. But those issues were actually dealt with. Again, I think the committee noted the fencing of the well, and then that was done in terms of the operation order. So that way was actually subsequently fenced and ensured that it's protected. I think that's a progress in terms of Mangxamfu. These are the pictures that we have just extrapolated from the project, and the project is functional, has been completed as we've indicated. The next project, Chair, which was visited by the committee, is Solo wastewater treatment works, which are in two phases. There's a Solo wastewater treatment works 1. This is the consultant that is on site, which is Wambiso or construction. In this project, as I've indicated, there are 2 contracts. We have contract 1, which is A, which is currently is at 97%. This is a scope of work that needs to be done in terms of the construction, where we is part of the contract where OR Tambo took a decision to ensure that all its small towns should have a waterborne system, so that we are ensuring then that we ease the flow to Mthatha, and these small towns can be able to ensure then that they have what is called your waterborne system, so that development and economy in those small towns can be actually looped in that regard. So in Solo is one of the small towns where we are trying to ensure that we have a water treatment works. The works include your construction of bioreactor, your sedimentation tank, your chlorination facilities, your control buildings in terms of that, your mechanical and electrical work. Currently, we're saying that project is at 96, actually 98% with all the works. What is outstanding works is more on mechanical and electrical components of the work, and that is waiting for ESCOM. As we're saying, ESCOM is busy now, it's currently on site, and ESCOM is dealing with connections, because you can't finalize your mechanical and electrical work, because after ESCOM has done that, you should test that work. We are planning that by end of October, the project will be finally completed in that regard, in line with that. If you move to the next slide, these were the financial report in terms of this contract of the wastewater treatment works. As I've indicated, this is the project that is a contract, one contractor, which is on site Lishenati. These are the financials. The contractor was appointed for 74 million. There are no operation orders to date, and currently we're sitting at 72% with a balance of 1.5%. I mean 1.5 million. 72 has been spent million plus, and we have a retention of 2.2 million in that regard. Already the employment opportunities that have been created in that contract are 63. And again, we are indicating what made delays on the project has been the issue that we've alluded, that there's the ESCOM connection, but we're saying that is on site now, ESCOM, and immediately when ESCOM has done that, the contractor, which is will go back for a period of 3 weeks to connect the mechanical and electrical works, and the project will be physically complete in that regard. These are the pictures. The next slide, I think the pictures indicating that biomediation and chlorination pump of the treatment works in the Solo and Mdoni project. The next project again within there is basically the actual wastewater treatment works, which is still at Solo, which is another project within there. You'll observe that these projects in one area, they are actually sequencing to each other. This one is still under the same consulting, because the sequencing is dealing with the entire network of the Solo as a consultant. There's a start date in 2017. It was anticipated to be completed in the July 2017. However, the revised completion was in actually October 2017 in that regard. The project is 100% complete. This site, this is the work that deals with the parasite fencing, your inlet works, your sludge drying, your emergency ponds, your access roads, your pumping main lines, and your inlinking internal structures, which is part of complementing the treatment works. There's no outstanding works in terms of that, but as we're indicating, this work has to be linked to the previous contract, which is contract A. So far, there are no variances. I mean, in the projects, everything has been done according to the budget. If we move to the next slide, so the contract was basically on 68.9 million, and we still within the budget. All what has been done in terms of that, the project has been completed. These are the works or work opportunities that have been created, which was 62. What have been delays? There were no delays per se, except to say the minor defects liability, which are part of the contractual obligation, the inclement weather, the rains, and all those things, which now, but those were being done, and the project has been completed as such, and it will be linked to project A in that regard. And the next slide, I think, provides now the quality of work in terms of the pictures of that project, what has been done in that regard. The next project, Jefferson, is basically, members, the Libode wastewater treatment works. That was another project that was visited. We acknowledge that even in the governance matters, I think the committee noted partially that the project was somehow, they had a view then that it was somehow underpriced. However, the project is currently on works, and it was anticipated, started in 2018, and it was anticipated to be completed in 2019, but there were a lot of challenges which had a revised work in terms of that. This is a scope of work that deals with this project, and these are the works that have to be dealt with. Your inlet works, your primary settling tanks, your pump station, the settling tanks, and all those, the towers in terms of that. The project financial report, which is the project, I think the committee when it visited, is under Tubalami construction, and the consultant is Element. What had happened within the project is that it was appointed for 45 million, and the expenditure to date has been there in terms of the 31 million. These were the job opportunities that have been created. In its nature, that project is more had to use what is necessary, the equipment, hence they are limited works in that regard. These are minor outstanding works of boxes, but already it's towards the completion in terms of the works. One of the key issues that delay the project, it's one of the projects when the committee visited, they raised a concern in that regard. One issue that there was a community disruption in that the community of Mdoni, which now they were arguing that where the site for the works has been there, actually within their land, which has been now, there were negotiations which took a lot of time, and those negotiations resulted to the community proposing that be actually reimbursed or be replaced with the building or with the community hall. There have been a lot of negotiations in that regard. However, we tried now to have those negotiations, but somehow we ended up going to interdict in those areas. Again, some of the other areas that have affected the project were the issues that are based on contractual issues, whereby the contractor was not complying in terms of your site agents that have to be replaced. Remember, this is a highly technical work, which now in its nature will require that it comply to the standards, and therefore the municipality didn't want to compromise the quality, and those had implications. And these delays have some extensions that were requested, and those extensions were required in that. Again, I think as much as there were this community unrest, even the workers went on strike on there as part of the community, leading to those works to have those delays. But we are progressing and completing the project as we speak. This is the pictures in the next slides of that project as it was visited in that regard. Then the next project is more on VIP sanitation in Nyandeni, which is Ward 4. That we have a VIP that we're providing in terms of the Nyandeni Ward 4. These were the consultants that were there, and the project started on the 11th of April 2018, and it was anticipated to be scheduled to be completed in July 2018 on the 11th, but for 20 days there was a revised, and it was completed 100%. The construction of 706 VIP units for those communities, those are the costs in terms of that, and all those were done, and there was a balance in terms of that. The challenges that we actually observed were basically some of the issues where the ward councillors submitted a request for additional households. I want to just reflect to the honourable members that one of the key issues in our communities, as you deal with community projects, from your business planning, your design, there are sites that actually emerge in the communities. So when you go to sites, you find that the numbers have increased, and the councillor will come with those numbers as infills that have to be covered in that regard. So those are some of the challenges that we are dealing with. These are the pictures of how we're dealing with VIP. VIP in this context, a ventilated improvement pit latrine as required by the standards in terms of the National Sanitation Policy and the Water Services Act. Then the other project, which is project number 6 that was visited, is the Misty Mount Rising Main, which is part of the project that we can confirm that is done under the implementing agent of Amatola Water, wherein the GIP is actually a consultant, and the contractor is Listenati Properties and Construction. The project started in 2017. Currently, the revised work is 30th of October 2020, which within a month. These are the works that needs to be done in terms of that, or almost the works as alluded in terms of the lines, in terms of the scope of work is almost complete. However, the delays on the project has been because these are various packages. So what is being required now is for the contractor needs to do the testing, so the water to come in from another contractor, it can do the testing. So now the client had to provide that water and ensuring that those are being dealt with, so that it can be dealt. So far, everything is in order till that time that the testing of water, because once you've completed your piping, you need to ensure then that you have the water so that you can be able to test and certify the work as such in terms of the condition. So that's an outstanding work that is the remaining. If you look on the financials in terms of that contract, that was a contract of 36 million, and currently there hasn't been any variation order. Those are the expenditures, total expenditure to date, and the balance, which is include your retention and guarantees. The SMME that has been covered also, there's been a major SMME that participated there. As you can see, your Grigor Hammond pipelines, because it's more laying pipelines in that regard. So it's a work that entails laying of pipelines. These are the pictures of the project of the Misty Mount pipeline project. The next project is the KST construction of Mdoni Gravity Main, which again is part of the Amatola Water program. The project started in January 2017. It was anticipated to be completed in January 2018, which was more of a 12-month period. And the revised contract end date has been the 18th of June 2019. And now it's anticipated for this September, coming September. It's currently at 94% completion. These are the works that have been to be done. What are the outstanding works? Is the installation of fitting assemblies inside the chamber, your water testing, and your commissioning. So as I've indicated earlier, those are the issues that more remain in ensuring that you are able to deal with those installation of the fittings, as well as, again, your water tightening testing, so that if there are leaks, you deal with that and you commission the project. Again, the delays on the project pertain to the lack of financial resources. I think these issues that we're talking about, that our contractors in some other areas have some financial challenges and made requests for terminations, which you have to deal with those matters. I think those are key issues that have been affecting the project. Again, we want to comment also to say this project had been also a program that was used where an implementing agent had used your fiber pipes, and those fiber pipes, there was a challenge that had happened in terms of the company that produced fiber pipes in the country and made those delays in that regard, delaying the project itself in terms of the supply itself from the factory, and that was a national issue that affected programs of fiber pipes in the country at large. Those are the cost of Mdoni, and these are the balance of funds to date and the retention costs. Again, these are the job opportunities that have been created. You'll observe, Honorable Chair and Honourable members, that because this is a gravity main, now there are limited numbers in terms of jobs, because these are limited labor-intensive works in that regard. Again, there's been a participation of SMMEs in terms of your harmony pipelines, where you need to ensure that they are trained individuals to do that piping in that regard. The next project is, again, which is construction of Jibar Mdoni Gravity Main. That project is done by Amatola again, the same consultant, because it's dealing with your KST presidential intervention as a main consultant in that regard. The period of start and the anticipated dates of completion, as well as the revised construction date. As we speak, I think the construction has been almost completed at 96%, but however, the outstanding works had been in the same, where we're saying then that because there are various packages of work, now you need to ensure prior to certify the work that there's the water testing and you commission the work in that regard. So it will be one way, because these are sequence projects in that regard, in ensuring that you are able to test with the necessary water, that there's a tight in terms there are no leaks, and you certify the work. Again, we note that there were delays in the project. One, the issues of our communities, which actually didn't want the pipeline to pass through their access roads. Those are the issues, and that resolved to actually checking the pipeline and ensuring then that the lack of, it doesn't affect their land. Then the issues around the lack of financial resources for our contractors, as well as financial challenges in that regard. But in terms of those issues, the project itself started late due to overcommitment in the contractor, and then but the mutual agreement was agreed upon, and it started, as well, saying that this is implemented by Amatola as an implementing agent. It provides the overall program management and the risk in terms of that. These are the costs of the project, noting that there are no variation in the project, noting that there are still VOs, they are still balancing the project, as well, saying the project itself necessitates that we, prior to finalizing the payment, we are able to deal with issues of actually ensuring that there's a testing and the commissioning in that regard. Again, we note that the funding for retention are still there. The jobs that have been created, which is a work that actually had an opportunity of 33 jobs. Again, these were the SMMEs that participated on that, with the cost of those SMMEs that were able to participate in the project itself, which is Mdoni Gravity Main. The second last project that was visited by the committee is the original water supply scheme, which is Coffee Bay scheme. That project It's under also Matola Water, which is actually implemented, our consultant doing Eurocon. And that project started in 2014, the main bigger project in that regard. And it's scheduled to be completed in 2021 with various packages. I think we acknowledge that there's been a delay on the project, and that caused those revised work in the works to ensure then that the period has been revised in that, because this is a bigger regional water supply scheme. Those are the components of work of that regional water supply scheme, where we want to deal with the booster pump station, your lift pump station, your common reservoirs, which are 3, your rising main, your bulk cavity main, supply of on the 7 villages, your 2 elevated tanks, your 10 village irrigation network, and your breakdown water pressure tanks. If I can just reflect on the honored members, this is one of the projects which is a catalytic for the Coffee Bay area to ensure then that the ideal of ensuring that there is a supply of water in the Coffee Bay, to ensure then that Coffee Bay itself is able to ensure then that they are what is called investors, and there is development as one of the envisaged town or developmental town for the region. There were some delays in the project, which include the issues of employers agents, which are more contractual issues. Again, the issues of the contractor, which didn't, the lapse times in terms of that, which have been dealt with on the contractual period on a day-to-day monitoring. Then these are the revised dates, as I've alluded in terms of the project, and Amatola Water is following on all the matters and ensuring that we adhere to all the matters as envisaged. And again, the contractor had done some, the consultant and the implementing agent has been working ensuring that it dealt with contractor that was not complying in that regards in terms of the contractual obligations. Because as much as we work and ensuring that there are SMMEs, but contractual obligations must be adhered to, and to ensure then that we actually have the quality in that regard. Coming to the costs of the project, those are the costs, the construction amount, the original one, and then the variation in terms of the works, as well as the current construction award value with the variances. You will notice that one of the key issues that we have observed in the contract is that it didn't cover other villages, and as such, there were additional work that were picked up, because in our community, we find that the lines are crossing certain villages which you have to add in that regard, and they are causing actually delays, because those communities again don't want to be connected, and therefore you have to deal with that in your planning so that you accommodate those communities. Those are expenditure to date, and those are the balance and the retention that remain in that, which is in terms of the various phases, which is phase 3A as well as phase 3B of the contract. Then these are the job opportunities that have been created for the 2 phases. You observe that it's a bigger project. Already you have job opportunities of actually 1,842 in terms of phase 3A of the project, whilst in terms of the phase 3B, which is at its infant stages, we still have created 19 job opportunities in that regard. So these are SMEs that have participated, because we have the work that deals with drilling, and we include also your SMMEs in the local in terms of that. Those are the costs that have been involved in that. We highlight those because, again, I think the honored members in the visit noted that in our project, how do we ensure that there is participation of SMMEs in our contracts as we implement them. So this is one of the bigger projects which is underway in terms of those phases. Then the last projects that we visited basically were the Mdoni augmentation scheme. This part of project is more augmenting the existing scheme, where Mdoni is one of the old schemes that with the treatment works and all that, which supply part of the western part of Mthatha, where there are hospitals, there are military barracks, where there is an airport and the villages around that. And therefore, the district municipality took upon itself to ensure that it augments that so that it actually meets the necessary demands in that regard. Because there is a development, as I'm saying, there's a airport corridor development that needs to be supplied with water. This is the contract. GIB has been part of that. That's when it started in 2015, and then it had some revised work because it's been bigger work. The current status so far, those projects are almost, that project is almost 100% complete. These are the works overview, and there are some, as we move in terms of that, outstanding work that had to be dealt with, because it's more a work that needs to be dealt with, a more refurbishment. As you deal with this, you pick up some work that needs to be dealt with. Those are actual issues, but what caused the delays basically were issues of your defect liabilities in the projects, and those are being dealt with. But again, in the projects, there were, because it's more a refurbishment work, there's been, as you refurbish moves with that, there are other works that have been picked up because there's been an existing scheme, and those necessitating that you come back and deal with what is called your operation orders, and you assess your treatment works, and you ensure that the necessary commissions, because as much as the works itself is more dealing with augmentation and refurbishment of the existing scheme. So as you are on site, you are able to pick up some of the other issues that need to be dealt with, and those somehow cause some delays, somehow. These were the financial reports for the Mdoni in terms of the project costs, the current construction that is happening, the total expenditures, the balance to date, and the retentions, as well as the job opportunities that has been created there. Again, the SMME contract that they've been able to participate. One of the major works, as I've alluded, is to ensure then that the old Mdoni treatment works, which are supplying few villages, have been to ensure then that it had the necessary capacity to supply the development on the western part of Mthatha. These were the pictures that have been provided in terms of that works, in terms of those phase of works of Mdoni as part of the projects that have been visited. Honorable Chair and Honorable Executive Mayor, as I conclude, we note that the Tambo District Municipality appreciates the select committee in terms of the issues that have been lifted, and its commitment and the oversight that has been provided on all those matters. And we're saying we're on track in terms of all those matters towards our day-to-day work in terms of our project management. We further appreciate the recommendations that were made, as well as the follow-up in that instance in terms of the issues that were picked up. But it can be attested that the Tambo is committed towards the completion of its project and rendering service to its communities. If you can observe among these projects, most of the projects are almost 100% complete, to ensure that we, the ultimate goal of ensuring that we provide our communities with basic services. We want to attest and ensure that that is done. And the evidence is that, as I've alluded, that there are projects that are complete, while others are more at the technical commission phases, which now with those minor issues that and defects and commissioning that has to be dealt with, so that we are able to provide water to the communities of the region. Thanks very much, Honorable Executive Mayor. That's the end of the report as the issues have been recommended by the committee. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chairperson, that's the report that we are presenting. We'll await for the questions from the honorable members.
I was still on the platform, Honorable Executive Mayor, to say we thank the President, and also checking from you, your entourage, the invited participants, stakeholders, water affairs, water and sanitation, COPTA, Treasury, SALGA, AG, if there's anything that they want to talk to on the presentation before we go to questions. Members, please, in the meantime, just make your indication as usual. We don't screen. You are used to the system, how we're doing it. We go to chat, you go to, you raise your hand icon, whereby you will be identified by the secretariat behind the scenes, and they'll communicate to me so that I can recognize you. Anybody who wants to, through executive, make additions or make emphasis, it is on purpose that I have knowledge of this subject that we are dealing with, which follows last week's local government week. It's very important. Most of the things I feel like we were there to see because of the one's experiences that they had. But having said that, anything from the municipality executive mayor? We don't have anyone?
No, we don't have anyone. They will be there when they are responding to the questions that will be raised.
Okay, thank you, executive mayor. Other stakeholders, treasury, COPTA, water and sanitation, AG. Are all these people that I'm calling in the platform? Lubabalo?
Institution that you have just called in, from them, a report that just been said. I did not even have a chance to open it, but I asked ST to send it to all members. They are kind of enriching this conversation, empowering members about what maybe they can quickly click on it.
You said this from where?
From MISA.
From MISA.
From MISA Chairperson, yes.
Okay, those I can give 5 minutes because I'll give an executive summary on the issue, because the intention is to empower members. We want to be able to open, unlock every door. If there are things that members or other participants, stakeholders, NGOs, they want to raise, let them raise them here, because we don't want to. Over to you.
Good morning, Chairperson. My
Good morning. Dandas, switch on your camera.
Okay, Chairperson. Good morning, Chair.
Morning.
I'm not sure if you can see me now, Chair.
I can, but yeah, you can see you clearly now.
My name is Ndandas of Vimba, Chairperson, the CEO of MISA. We have circulated, Chair, a progress report flowing, Chairperson, from the legacy report that the committee did, relating to an intervention that MISA was implementing in Tambo, called the Regional Management Support Program, which is focusing on the total turnaround of the institution, not just the water and sanitation area only. So we've done quite an extensive work, Chair, and we have then circulated to members what is it that we've been able to do in terms of a summary of activities that we had planned to implement in Tambo. If Chair allows me, I will request Lubabalo to just give us the highlights in terms of the presentation and the work that we've been able to do. But for benefit of the committee members, we have circulated the high-level presentation but plus a link chairperson to all the documents that we have produced through our work in Tambo to empower the members of the committee in terms of what we've been able to do. Thank you, Chairperson. Lubabalo, please, if you can just
while we are waiting for Lubabalo to load the presentation, were you a consultant working there?
No, Chairperson.
Assisting. I want to understand because it's the first time I hear the name. Maybe other members they know.
No, Chairperson, MISA is an agent of government under the National Department of Cooperative Governance. It's called Municipal Infrastructure Support Agent.
Okay.
Yes, thanks, Chair.
Thank you for the explanation, because the abbreviation sometimes we think of other things.
Okay,
thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Over to you.
Thanks, Cyril. Good morning, Chair, members of the committee, and other invited guests. I won't be long. It would be just to touch on one or two things. As you've indicated, we've got time limitations, Chair. So just at a high level, I'll just touch on the program overview, the summary of key challenges that were identified, the support activities that correspond to the challenges identified, and the impact of the support to date. We'll skip this slide, but suffice to say, it's to just give an overview of what has been done. In summary, the program, as the CEO has said, is to support the municipality to turn itself around. Its focus areas were on change management, water and sanitation engineering, infrastructure asset management, infrastructure project management, infrastructure procurement and supply chain, finance, and human resource management, all with the core focus, if we can go to the next slide, of improving the quality of service delivery. In our diagnostic, as MISA, we basically looked at the entire value chain, identifying challenges in Tambo that pertain to planning, infrastructure delivery, operations and maintenance, the financial health, technical capacity, and general capacity or functionality that affects each of those. And in each of those, we identified specific things that obviously need to be addressed. We can go to the next slide. And then we identified support activities along 6 streams, one with water and sanitation, facilities management, human settlements, the budget and treasury office, human resource, and the MM's office. Majority of the focus, you'll see those percentages in red, 60% was on water and sanitation. We had a look at the current operating model, assisted with master plan development, groundwater potential studies, water balance maintenance plans, process audits, O&M manuals, blue and green drop related work, supply chain management for infrastructure policy, infrastructure procedures, project management software, PMU on-site support, and general O&M improvement plans. If we can go to the next slide. So there's detailed deliverables of that specific work that was undertaken that are available on the link below there. So members can just click at their own time to have a look. Summarily, we had wanted to see 4 improvements to indicate success of the program. One would have been a percentage increase in municipal revenue from water and sanitation services. 2 would have been an improvement in the reliability of water and sanitation services, because ultimately that's what we want to see, people getting quality service. Third was the green and the blue drop, which deals with potable and wastewater. And then the last was along the municipal strategic self-assessment scores improvement, which is a mechanism that the Department of Water and Sanitation has in place to assess the functionality of the water service authority and the water service provider. Suffice to say that the improvements were not what we had hoped to see, but this is partly due to the systemic nature of some of the challenges in Tambo and the time required to resolve these. But MISA will obviously continue supporting the municipality to realize these improvements. I think when we talk about systemic, a big issue is the availability of funding to address the challenges identified in the program. I think Mr. Matomela spoke in part about non-revenue water that's due to aging infrastructure. Now, to see an improvement in non-revenue water, you need to literally fix that infrastructure. And the municipality has serious budgetary constraints that don't allow them to get to some of these things as they require investment so that the improvement can be realized. But notwithstanding the challenges, significant progress was made, and there was a lot of skills and knowledge transfer to the Tambo district officials with respect to improving the quality of their water and services, water sanitation service provision. We can go to the next slide. And lastly, Chair, without taking too much time, I think we need to continue supporting Tambo because changing things will take time. We've had about 2.5 years on the program, but we think that we need about 5 to 6 years of sustained support in order to see the impact that we'd like to realize and to really get to the root of some of the systemic challenges and issues that are faced by the municipality. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thank you. The screen is. Lubabalo, am I audible?
Yes, Chairperson, you are audible and you are visible.
Okay, thank you. So far, I have 3 names of members who want to ask questions, and I also invited the stakeholders to also ask questions or clarities, or they also assist in terms of clarifying some of the issues. Thank you very much for the presentation. The first member on the list is Honorable Ryder. Honorable Ryder.
Much appreciated. And to the representatives from our Tambo, well done. Thank you for your presentation. Chair, I think that a short meeting like this for a subject this big is and also one that obviously I have a little bit of passion for based on my history. Not enough time, but I'm gonna ask some questions and see how far we get with that. So I noted that the oversight that happened took place in August of 2018. So we're kind of on the 2-year anniversary of that. So I think it is good that we have a follow-up, but I was a little disappointed with some of the answers when they spoke about, cascading the assessments for middle management down. We're still busy with it. It's a new thing, etc., etc. So I think that I'm a little concerned that the response has not been as quick as it could have been. 2 years in municipal terms can be a very short time for certain things, but for other things, where you're in control, you can implement things very quickly. So I'm just wondering about the adaptation for that. So we've just heard a little bit about non-revenue water, and I was quite interested in the district municipality. Before we get to that, sorry. Roles and functions, quite important. And I'm surprised to see this responsibility vesting with the district, because it's not what I'm familiar with in Gauteng, which underscores the point that different district municipalities in different provinces play very different roles, which is one of my issues around the district model, that one size does not fit all and cannot fit all, and the requirements on districts are different at different levels. So if we can just get an indication in terms of roles and functions, what does the district do on behalf of the locals in the Tambo district? So, electricity, reticulation, is it handled by yourselves or through Eskom or through the locals? The sewage network, wastewater treatment, etc., water. If you can just give us an idea around that, because I'm not familiar with it. So yeah, and then as I mentioned, non-revenue water. What is the percentage of non-revenue water at the moment within the district? I noted that a number of your projects included issues around internal reticulation. So I was wondering, is that new reticulation or is it replacement reticulation? What is the plan for you mentioned it on one of your slides, outdated reticulation and piping that is causing a lot of water losses? If you can indicate, the projects that you've got going, is it only for new? And perhaps you can highlight for us the challenges you have in terms of that, using MIG funds to deal with old infrastructure, replacement of really ancient infrastructure, etc., within the MIG rules. Yeah, I was concerned when I heard that one of the concerns of the previous oversight was the value for money issue, because to me that always points to corruption, whether it's corruption from the municipality side or from the contractor side. I'm not in a position to comment, but value for money is always a big concern. And Chairperson, it would have been nice if we could have had an indication from Treasury, whoever's dealing with the MIG, about their levels of comfort in terms of what's been happening within the district. Because at the moment, we're sitting with one side of the story, and we really have no idea of whether Treasury is a little bit happier or not in terms of the value for money aspect and in terms of what's happening. I believe the presenter was Mr. Matumela, and I wanted to congratulate him because I think he had an excellent grasp of the subject matter. Clearly, he's a man dealing with this stuff, and he knows what he's talking about. I wanted to know, he mentioned that one of the problems that was highlighted by the AG was the fact that there was repeated use of the same consultant. He mentioned that they've dealt with that going forward, but I would like to know the name of that same consultant that had been used, just to interrogate, is it still one of the members on the panel? And we can maybe, red flag the name within our own minds. If not red flag, just, take note of it, and keep it in mind when we're dealing with other districts and areas around the country. The biggest problem that came up repeatedly in the presentation was contractors. So, yeah, and one of the things that I noted that really concerned me was the fact that projects were stretched out over massively long periods of time. So you've got a 6-year turnaround on a project. Now, frankly, unless you are rebuilding the entire municipality's waterworks, 6 years is too long for a project. I also noted that projects had been implemented. There were original completion dates, and those completion dates were then changed, and then some of those have still not even been completed. Some have been completed, although with little snag lists from the sound of things. But the fact is that it just seems like a 2-year project suddenly ends up being a 4-year project. And we all know that is where costs multiply. Costs skyrocket when you take projects and extend the time frame for those projects. So I want to hear about I would have liked actually to have the contractors here to please explain. Tell us why these things are happening. Tell us what the issues are from their perspective as well, Chairperson, because these are the guys now that fingers being pointed to them. Contractors have financial constraints. Contractors are not doing this. Contractors are not doing that. Let's hear from them as well and hear why they're going through these things. There should not be financial constraints on contractors. They are the ones that are tendering. That tender lays out what it's going to cost them. For them to come forward halfway through the project and say, oh, we've got financial constraints, to me, points to a flaw in the tendering system and within their own. Then that doesn't become our problem. You're the guy that knows that. We're going to fire you as a contractor. We're going to red flag you and not allow you to do government contracts going forward because your tender process is flawed. So I really would have liked to hear more from the local contractors or from the contractors to hear what their issue is. Yes, and then a question, how many local contractors are being used? Are there people in the area? I know Eastern Cape has often bemoaned the fact that they don't have the skills in the area. If we can just hear if there's any local content in that. And on that point as well, to the district municipality, do you have a problem with these labor forums that arrive on site and demand 30% of the value of the contract, whether they can actually fulfill that or not? Normally it's more protectionist money that they're demanding and they're wanting 30%. If you can tell us if that's an issue that you're experiencing. And then the last one, Chairperson, MISA. I'm thrilled to hear that there is such a structure. It's the first time hearing about it. I think that it sounds like a wonderful initiative. I'd like to hear more from them, perhaps, and have an opportunity. Where else are they working What are their achievements? What are they doing so far? Because it sounds to me like a really good initiative from COGTA, but yeah, we don't know about it. And I think the fact that they're spending Treasury's money, it would be quite important for us to find out a little bit more about who MISA is, what they're doing. Aside from the fact that the presenter has got a wonderful first name, but yeah, other than that, we'd like to know more about MISA, what their successes are. And Mr. Lubabalo, the engineer, I would love to engage with you further, a little bit about some medium to long-term water-saving proposals that have been made and plans that have been made that I've been involved with, but we can chat about that offline. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Ryder. Honorable Mletsani, you're next.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me welcome this presentation. On issues that need urgent intervention. I didn't hear the presenter say anything about the demonstration of zero tolerance stance towards non-compliance and the consequence management. Secondly, Chairperson, on the Libode issue, according to their vision, they said that they are people-centered district, and there was a conflict between the between them and the residents about the land. I just want to check with them that so far, is there any amicable solution or any discussion that is still taking place between them in order to try and resolve the matter amicably? Lastly, on the same issue of the Libode, when I look at the labor there, I realize that they denied women. They denied to women an opportunity to be part of the labor. Is there something specific reason why women were not paid of why women were not part of the labor on that one? Because when I checked, there 23 people were hired, and it was 11 males, and then it was 11 unskilled and then 11 skilled. But in terms of women, there was no representation. If I can get on, is there any reason why women were not appointed? Thank you, Chair.
Amanda Mletsani, thank you for raising that very last important thing, the exclusion of women. We need to understand why women were excluded, but also the local economic activities. How did this project contribute to the local people of the areas of the OR Tambo District Municipality? Let me, before I give you, but before I go there, Honorable Ryder is correct. More especially on the issue of treasure to be quiet. Maybe they will, or actually, let me not say maybe, just because you are responsible for the past of the country because of other things. The Babalo is a MEC for finance or treasury.
It is difficult to confirm because no one contacted me directly. Because I mean, there are a lot of this meeting, we've got about like 77 people who are part of it. So it's difficult to pinpoint unless colleagues can indicate they are present. But National Treasurer is present. Silo has raised his hand for a while. So yes, maybe the person can give him an opportunity to say a few words.
Okay, before that, portfolio committee from the legislature in Eastern Cape, there's no one on treasury. Finance, MEC, which plays a very important part in this area, is not here. The MEC for COPTA is not here. And after the whole week discussions, together with the Minister of COPTA, I expected us to have understood our responsibilities, because one asks herself, if a municipality finds itself in this situation, you ask yourself as to the Department of Treasury, where was COPTA? Where was the oversight bodies? Where were they? Because they were supposed to be playing their role. Those who were supposed to give support, they were supposed to give support, and before it's too late. So it's a big concern to it's a concern, actually, a serious concern to me. I'm very disappointed because I don't know why. Maybe if we have had explanations, why are they not here? This is a very important meeting to us, because we want to close the matter and go and report. And the people of parity must know why are things happening, and where are they, and doing and saying this has been said and it's not there. We are just and assist you, partner with you to be part of the solution. My first question is, what was the cause of the variation orders which led to some cost escalations? We know, obviously, once there are the variations, they will cause the escalation. In the Mangxamfu water supply, and what steps are being taken to address this in future? Do you have future plans? Do you have learned a lesson from these problems that you have experienced, and have a plan to prevent them not to happen again? And I will also go to what Honorable Muletsani said. Only in the municipalities throughout, people are doing things wrong. People are allowing rent seeking. People are delaying projects so that they can escalate and make more money. And because they know nothing will happen to them. And if anything has to happen, it will happen to the politicians and not them. So it's a worrying factor for us. So money has been given, but there was no value. The IDPs have been made that contract with the communities, and the communities had expectations that this will happen. I don't know if there has been communication with the communities as to what is happening. So why are the delays? But the delays are just too much. One can also say that I do understand the multi-year projects, and they have a way of being managed. And the Honorable Executive Mayor, you are very fortunate coming from the Eastern Cape. There's an institution there, the Nelson Mandela University. That is a university which is deals specifically with the infrastructure, projects management, and all other things that are related to infrastructure. And I will advise that tap into that space, because the people who are there, the professors, the lecturers, are very kind and are willing to assist. So you being there, you can tap into that space and utilize that knowledge which is there and be the best in the country. And provinces like us, we can learn from you. I also want to know whether there was any penalty clause in the contractor or in the contract who were unable to complete projects due to various reasons, including cash flow challenges. And how does the municipality appoint a contractor without ensuring that adequate resources are available for the contractor to do the necessary work? You know, sometimes, or most of the time, we raise this, we're being sabotaged by the government when they are not paid in time. There's 50% truth of that and 50% untruth of that. They might not be paid in time because of the shady work that they've not done, or there's just a laissez-faire attitude. Man, the truth part of it is that the officials delaying the payment so that the contractor will have to pay for them to do the work. The rent seeking, the corruption that we are dealing with, that we find ourselves. So they are happening because there's no consequence management. I also want to know about the issue that led to the unrest of the community that have been resolved, if it has been resolved, I'm sorry. The issue there of the unrest between the municipality and the community, was it resolved? Have you find out what the problem is? Have we learned a lesson from there that public participation is very important, where we will give people what we think they need? Public consultations are very important. And also, the next question is, what has been the level of compliance with the RDP standards in implementing this water and sanitation project? The standard of the RDP. So I don't know, because the water and sanitation are not here, but you as the leadership of the municipality, you should be having that information. And I'm so curious, wanting to know whether the 90 million rands, which was cut by National Treasury, is still an issue of concern, and whether the municipality has resolved all the issues that led to the amount being cut. I think National Treasury will also have to speak to this one. The issue of the 90 million rand cut that has been done by Treasury with reasons, as we found. I also want to know what has been the role of other stakeholders in trying to support the work that needed to be done as a result of the committee findings and recommendations. Has there been an attempt or intergovernmental or a relationship that you have built in terms of assisting? I've just heard about MISA. They have that responsibility, but also they are doing that as an institute, as part of COCTA. So hence, I would want to know if there are other stakeholders that you have drawn into the space to assist into resolving these problems and these findings. And I also want to know the roles of those stakeholders. The next question is whether all the visited projects by the Select Committee in 2018 were completed at the required time as scheduled, and if not, what steps have been taken to address this? Because this is something that has a financial implication. The more you delay to finish project, the more money you're going to spend, which is the money that could have been directed to other areas. I have heard when Mr. Matoma was presenting on other projects that they are complete. I just want to have a picture. Hence, I was saying that it could have been better and appreciated if we had an opportunity to go to Eastern Cape or Tambo to go and see on our own. Not that we don't trust you, but we want to know that when we close the matter and report, it should be clear as to whether those findings have been, findings on the project have all been completed as per the schedule. I also want to know whether there are project monitoring mechanisms to ensure that such projects are not vandalized, functional, and well maintained to avoid wild elephants. I don't know what was the cause of the conflict between the municipality and the community, but from my experience, it could have been that as government were doing something that they did not do. They had issues and we did not want to listen. Our people in South Africa are not that difficult. They just want to be spoken to and tell the truth. The social distance that is there between government or the authorities and the citizens, the community, it needs to be closed, because these are the things that causes the problems to us. And believe you me, the people of South Africa are very patient, very patient. And we must never ever make that mistake of taking their patience for granted, because the patience is not elastic. We must not do that mistake. We are their servant, we serve them. And we need to do things consult with them and take the IDPs serious. And I know sometimes as municipalities, you are frustrated because when you invite provincial departments and other spheres of government to come and participate, because other things that communities need, it needs them at the higher spheres of government. They either don't attend or they send a junior official who doesn't even know where to report, or if she or he reports, that report is not taken into consideration, or a very junior person who cannot take decisions or cannot advise or does not know the plan of the department. So it's very, very, very important that we make sure that we work together. The intergovernmental relations are very important, and that was emphasized next week. I mean, I'm sorry, it was emphasized last week. I want to give, you said the hand is from Treasury, Babalo?
Yes, Chairperson, Mr. Silo Mashaba, Chairperson. With your permission, Chair, I would also want to take this opportunity, Chair, and indicate that the Department of Water Affairs is also represented in the meeting. The COO is present. Amatola Water Board is also present in the meeting, and the regional head of Department of Water and Sanitation in the Eastern Cape is part of the meeting. When you made a comment about water affairs, it was difficult for me to whisper. If we were in a normal committee meeting, I was going to whisper to you to say they are present, but because of this distance, I had to let you finish asking your questions and then later on indicate they are present.
Yeah, thank you, Babalo.
So maybe after Mr. Silo, you may consider giving them a platform if they've got one or two issues to comment on.
Okay, Lubabalo, I did indicate to them before I came in, I wanted them also to speak, because this is our problem. It's not the problem of the district municipality alone. But they need to indicate if they want to speak, because I have requested them to speak and there was no indication. The only indication that you have made me aware of is that of Treasury.
Mr. Mashaba.
Mr. Mashaba, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the opportunity to invite us. I'm the National Treasury. My name is Selom.
Mashaba, before you go any further, your dress code, Baba, does not represent Treasury. It's a concern. You can go on.
Chairperson, Chairperson, my apologies, and I unreservedly apologize for that. Indeed, it is not how the Treasury presents itself, but I am sorry. I am sorry for that. Again, let me just introduce myself. My name is Selom Mashaba. I am the director at the National Treasury responsible for conditional grant monitoring. I am responsible for the transfers to municipalities. I'm responsible for the withholding, the stopping and reallocations of the grants in terms of the Division of Revenue Act. I am responsible for the offsetting and the rollover processes from the Treasury's point of view. I would like to apologize again, Chairperson. earlier on. I think I slightly raised my hand a bit late, but we have been formally invited. We have prepared a presentation as a treasury. We got the invite through our ministry. So I'm here representing the DG of the National Treasury. But I will not talk to the presentation. I believe that it has been circulated. But I will just respond in the main to the issues that was raised, but I will also comment on the presentation done by Ntate Matumela. I am also with my two colleagues in the meeting, Untitled Chapter. She has been involved with the province Eastern Cape and specifically OR Tambo, even with the site visit that was done in 2018. So we have been involved from day one with regard to the subject matter today. I also have in the meeting Majaji Mashweshwe, who is a budget analyst for Eastern Cape municipalities from the Treasury's point of view. So she deals with budget related issues. So my role is I deal with all provinces, but today I will comment. I think let me just also explain, and I'll basically just repeat just to reiterate the decision that has led to the 90 million. In 2016-17, the municipality was reflecting a slow performance in terms of expenditure of their MIC. They had an allocation of 609 million, which was reduced by 90 million to 509 million. And the reason for that was that the municipality was not reporting to reflect where they were in terms of spending. So we said non-reporting was the cause. The second point was that there were projects that were being reflected, that were reflecting expenditure had not been registered. And the third point was a slow take-up on the implementation. So those three reasons had led to the decision by the Treasury to stop. Now, if I can just explain the thought process, or one of the purpose of the Division of Revenue Act is that it is an annual piece of legislation which provides for allocations to be spent as it is being appropriated on an annual basis. So what gets allocated to a municipality in a particular year must be spent in that particular year. What the DORA also does is that it allocates 2 outer years funding for purposes of proper planning, for purposes of municipalities to can contract going forward. Now, what happened then was that projects that were not in the implementation plan for the year were being reflected against the performance. So therefore, the Treasury then could not recognize those expenditures. That's number one. The second point is that the Division of Revenue Act is designed in such a way that 8 months before the start of the financial year, municipalities must go out on tender, so that when we get to July, which is the start of the financial year, implementation can start. Now, that was one of the reasons why we stopped this money, because projects were not moving. The municipality was delaying in procuring. So what would that do was that even if the municipality wanted to spend, they could not, because projects would have not been awarded, and let alone the fact that they were not reporting. So that was the reason that has caused the Treasury to stop. Now, I would like to move to the few questions that were raised by the honorable committee members. The first point, they wanted to know our role as the Treasury, and I think I've already highlighted our role in terms of providing support. We work hand in glove, Chairperson, with DWS and also with COCTA on a monthly basis. I must also say that coming from the National Treasury, I've been, in fact, if I must put it this way, I speak to Mr. Moabi, who is the CFO of the municipality, once every week, and he's here to attest that, just to talk about the finance of the municipalities and guidance in terms of how we should support the municipality. I also speak to Mr. Matomela, who is the director in the office of the acting MM, on regular basis. So our relationship, Chairperson, with the district has since improved immensely. Even the recent issue that they've been struggling with in terms of issues between DWS and Amatole Water, we've been heavily involved with them just to assist them. And I'll talk to the issue slightly later. There is a question that, are we happy with the current status as National Treasury? I must say that since the stop of the 90 million in 2016-17, the 2017 and the 2018 financial year has reflected 100% expenditure by the municipality. Only the current or the recently ended financial year 2019-20 is the one that is reflecting a less than 100% expenditure. I have already received a rollover request from the municipality, and we are supporting them in that regard. So to me, I gather that the municipality has since gone back to reassess how they project manage their projects, because I think that's where the problem is. What was happening for me at the time was that there was a huge problem between project management, project scheduling, and project readiness. So what we would then have is that municipality would bring on board projects that are not ready for implementation, and then they would commit the money of DORA, which is linked to a lifespan of a year. So what would then happen is that even if you want to spend, if you're not ready, the money remains unspent. The issue of value for money, if we must talk about 2016 year, and the fact that the presenter Matomela is still saying to us there are still projects that must still be commissioned. It's been 3 to 4 years. Clearly, value for money has not been realized. In fact, we're talking escalations. That is a huge concern. But if I must look into the subsequent years, then we can argue, Chairperson, that the Treasury is comfortable with the subsequent financial years, because that hasn't been an issue. But that year, there's been a huge problem. And the fact that there are still expenditure being incurred to this day, it tells you that the new money, the new MIG money is being linked to those projects. Because if not, then we would have been seeing rollovers every year, which would be rolling over more than a year or more than 2 years. So clearly, it tells you that the funding that was made in that year was also realized in the subsequent financial years. It also proves that perhaps contrary to the unpopular decision of Treasury to stop money, it was perhaps a good thing to have stopped the money and find a way to assist them when they are ready. We think that they are now at a position where the Treasury can start to consider assisting them and to return the 90 million, because stopping of the money has never meant to say project must be disestablished. It is an interim process of protecting the fiscus in a particular year, and when the municipality is ready, then the Treasury must find a way of returning the funds back. Let me pause there, Chairperson, and just to take the opportunity to thank you again and also to apologize.
Thank you very much for that information. Can we allow that Machachi Mashweshwe, he requested to be given an opportunity to say something. Is it also from Treasury? No?
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Machachi Mashweshwe. I'm from National Treasury. I'm the budget analyst responsible for Eastern Cape and Oa Tambo.
There's a lot of noise at the background. If you can close the door.
Please, Chair, may you kindly remind Machaji to switch on her camera, Chair.
And switch on your camera, please. Thank you. Switch on the camera, my dear.
Okay, I'm trying to do that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. I already introduced myself. My name is Machaji Mashweshwe. The support that I provide to OR Tambo is for budget analysis. So what I'm going to report here is what we already communicated to the district, and they are aware of their issues. But of course, there are important issues to raise to this committee to note. With regard to the budget of the district, we assess that the financial health of the district is very much fragile. The district adopted the balanced budget with a significant surplus of 40 million, and our area of concern is at 61% in the 18-19 financial year, and all the signs of liquidity are showing the signs of deterioration. That is the main challenge, and this places the municipality at a high risk because of they won't be able to honor their financial obligations in future, and that of course threatens the financial viability of the district. The other issue that we raised was the issue of the financial governance, which was showing a sign of distress, with the district achieving the qualified audit opinion for the past 6 years. And the area of concern with regard to that is an increase in the number of issues raised by the Auditor General. And we also raised the issue of the audit action plan, which was adopted by the district to say that it is not addressing the issues that was raised by Auditor General, the implementation of the audit action plan that does not produce. There was a reduction in the level of UFW from the irregular expenditure, which was reported 1.4 billion in the 17-18 financial in the 18-19 financial year, from the 3.2 billion that was reported in the 17-18 financial year. The issues of institutional, we also noted that currently the institutional that is fragile. We say that the issue that leadership of the acting city manager and the accounting officer was on the other hand, we've noted as the top structure of the 50-50. However, the other issue is overall performance of the municipality, as I've indicated that there are issues of financial and of concern with regard to the institutional aspect is characterized by bloated organizational structure, which is not fit for purpose, and the excessive use of the entity as well. We've noted that there's duplication of duties with regard to the responsibility performing by the district municipality. We've introduced an aim of concern with regard to the implementation, and we've communicated that to the district. With regard to the service, with regard to the targets that were met in the 18-19 financial year, with regard to the level of losses, total losses, and the unaccounted losses is an area of concern. While on the other hand, we've noted that there's also not a strategy in place to actually address the level of water losses, and that issue was raised by Auditor General in the 18-19 financial year. And as we've already I indicated that we've already communicated to the district the area of concern. And of course, there are some advice that we gave to the district, but our concern is that whether the district will be able to implement those advice from National Treasury. We advise the district to put a moratorium in place in terms of the recruitment processes, because I've already alluded the issue of the level of the wage bill, which is very much high, while on the other hand, the use of consultants is also excessive. We said with regard to high level of contracted services to see if they cannot employ the permanent, to actually team permanent employees. So that's the work that should be done by the district. The area of collection rate that the district is always presenting to National Treasury in terms of improving the collection rate presented to the National Treasury is the strategy that they call building of the peri-urban area. They've indicated 1920 financial year, but we've not seen any improvement with regard to that. With the time to the National Treasury, but with regard to the financials, we don't see any improvement in terms of indicated that they must actually come up with a strategy to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, with the rate was very low. But in addition to that, as we are calling for COVID, then we percent. So the advice was that you must just actually come with regard to the implementation of from his office. But of concern was that there's no steering committee in place. Even the steering committee that was not even aware of certain issues that were raised concerning that steering committee. So thank you so much from the budget analysis and financial reporting.
Thank you very much, Machachi. Any other hands?
Amatola, Chairperson.
Amatola.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairperson, and all honorable members, the executive mayors, and all political leadership and colleagues. Good morning. My name is Portia Makanya. I am the provincial head for the Department of Water and Sanitation. I'm currently sitting at Amatola Water Board, and we are here together, connected to this meeting. On behalf of the department, I think, Chairperson, let me declare that we participated today in matters that have been raised because we understood as a follow-up meeting on a visit, and we are here to respond to those matters. We did not come specifically now. But the energy funded element, we are in the source and ground infrastructure, and while the municipality will be largely dealing with regulation and measures, expressed that the Tambo District is one of those rural areas. There are still faced with their large these municipalities, especially over Tambo as well, in terms of backlogs and in terms of funding allocations that have needed. We are part of their district development model as well, trying to influence that. But I must say, Chairperson, from just a high-level analysis, the backlogs that they are having versus the funding trends, we will still see in many years to come people competing with the for water supply because of the inequalities and the funding trends that are coming. But I know also, Chairperson, that once we are saying that if we cannot spend the annual allocations that we are having, it's a weak argument. Therefore, there are issues, as you had advised, about Nelson Mandela University in terms of capacity that is required, even a delivery model to be able to spend. He has said we are working together with Tambo in the monitoring KSD Presidential Intervention Project, which has been in a lot of media negative publicity with the provincial treasury. We have had sittings with the national treasury get to the bottom of the issues that have been raised, Chairperson, and we are part of those processes. And the monitoring part of those processes, it was already alluded to by the presenters here. We transfer using Schedule 5, which means we give advance payments to the Tambo District Municipality who have asked to assist them in their capacity constraints. And there are costs that are happening on each of these projects that we are to report to the Treasury with those provisions, and we are part of those processes. On when he spoke about the performance in the last financial year, also on the other big we had to withdraw of the whole funding because of the main issue is the procurement process. There is one other issue that is really requirements to cut the slice, the cake into very small slices that then is kind of misaligned to the business plans or the commitments that they have. As a result, there has to be a forced slowdown in terms of implementation because there's just not enough adequate allocations to this to go. The case in point is the same KSDPI project. When that project was introduced, it was supposed to be a 3-year or 4-year contract. It has been going on since 2012. And the annual allocations that are getting there forces them to, it's either, Chairperson, they must take a hard decision to say, all the money that is coming to OR Tambo, we are not going to look anywhere else within OR Tambo, we are just going to look around Untitled. There's more than often a problem and a challenge faced by municipalities that all these local municipalities are looking at a share and they have IDPs, and they have to be visible commitments by government in all of them. And it forces then the allocation of these budgets to be cut in small cakes, which prolongs the project, cost. We have the feasibility study costs versus the actual, because if I say a project was costed in 2012, it is now 2020 and will obviously be costed end as well is that they could commit to what is available annually. So we are working, and I must say we are dealing with issues as they come, and in general, as the Treasurer also has said, we are working on those issues that seem to be causing a cause of concern at this point. When it comes to the issues of where is the department in terms of its role regarding the norms and standards, for instance, of the VIPs, that has been a question that has been raised here and now. Chairperson, I've seen in the report it is said that double perks is the system that needs to be there. And I want to clarify that double perk latrines are one of the options. There are a number of options that are in the database from which a municipality can choose from, depending on the affordability and the acceptance of that technology in the area. Your pit latrine is one of them, and there are rules of the game to say if you build a pit latrine, here are the norms and standards. You have got to have your groundwater protocol, you've got to have a substructure that conforms to these standards and a top structure that does this. If it's double pit, these are the rules of the game. There's low flush and poor flush, and all of those are options that are there. And when municipalities are to implement that, there's a structure that COPTA in the province, MISA, city, all these technical reports go through that structure in terms of planning, even if it's MIG funding, but of more monitoring and close monitoring from there is then left to the funding department. For instance, DWS will follow its fund, COPTA will follow its fund, and maybe that is where we are thin on the ground as these funding departments that we need to improve on. I think that is a realization that we have, because we more do so in our cases quarterly and during site water boards as implementing agents to be much more visible and be able to provide the capacity where we need the chairperson. But yeah, as I've said, we are part of them in planning, we are part of them in regulating. We are regulating. There's been a lot of non-compliance in terms of pollution, and those, as a result, that is what is given birth even to the presidential intervention project that we're having, that we have funded, that they have successfully completed as well in our Tambo, where the Mtata River was really polluted, where you would have 20 out of 23 pump stations not working. But that has since been addressed and through the presidential intervention. But we have seen them also responding to the directives was given under the other municipalities. That is where the sanitation projects that have been presented here are trying to address in terms of that non-compliance. And we continue to work with the municipality chairperson. And I think let me just cut it there and maybe respond to any questions that may arise. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Makanya. I really appreciate your input. When I was calling for your participation, I wasn't really expecting you to make a presentation. I was expecting you to make a contribution like you did, so that we can have a picture of what is happening. There's a reason why you're here. And sometimes when we only give you an opportunity to talk after questions, we are suppressing you, and we are also being unfair to us and limiting ourselves as the members of the committee. So I really appreciate the unpacking, the summary that you have given. It has given us more information. Estella, is there any other hand? Estella, any hand?
No, Chairperson. those are the few hands for now. No, there's no other hand, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, honorable members. Let me give this opportunity to the OR Tambo municipality to make responses, which are precise, because I want to give members more time, second bite on the issues, because the Treasury spoke after them and the Water and Sanitation also spoke after them. So I would like to give them the second bite. If when you respond, please just be precise and not give preambles. That's my humble request. Executive Mayor, is it you who's going to respond to your team? You can just indicate who's going to give answers. Yes, madam.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I will give the members. Yeah, okay. I'll give the members to reflect, but I wanted to reflect on the question that you have asked on the people who were not happy about the project of Libode. If is it situated where they don't like or they didn't want that water, bulk water sewer on that area. The people who were complaining there is the CPA, that Community Property Association. There was a land claim, but that land claim was settled. Then there is a hall to be built for them, and claiming that that area where we are doing the project, it's not part of the land owned by the municipality. Then we had to go and look for that land, but that issue has been resolved now. Hence, the project now it's up and running. So they had to stop that area, and they demanded who must work there. We had to engage them, employ them, but not many people on the location that is nearer there. That is the Tambo location. Then engagement, hence the project engage them. Then I would give the directors also to then over to you.
Thank you, Executive Mayor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Executive Mayor. It's once more, Madam Mayor. Honourable members, I think there were specific questions that were technically. We note some of the inputs, basically from the members, in terms of now the approach on the cascading of the performance.
Can you switch on the video?
Oh. I don't know whether I'm visible. Sure.
Yeah, you are. Thank you.
Okay. No, thanks very much. One, I noted the issue that were raised. Some of them were actually advice and concern. I think there are processes underway in terms of now ensuring that the performance has been cascaded in terms of the individual document that regard. But there were areas that were specific, Chair, that you wanted clarity by members. One of the issues is the issue around the single consultant in the panel. I think we indicated that we appointed a panel of consultants for a 3 year. And unfortunately, the visit by the select committee was around the KSTPI area, which the main consultant in that regard is KIP consultant, as a main consultant. Hence, it seems as if it's one consultant. But you'll find that there are more. We give instruction in that regard. We can provide that information because it's driving the master plan for the KSTPI. the issue there, we are committed as a municipality to ensure that we limit the variation orders in our project. And as such, we are achieving that. But there are specific areas where variation orders are unavoidable. For instance, if you look at the Mangxamfu project and some other projects in Coffee Bay, there are specific reasons there. Hence, in the report, we are specifying to say this was the original scope of work, but because of the nature of our areas in terms of the rurality and the extension of villages, it is necessary now to ensure that for you to ensure that we have a sustainable supply, you accommodate the villages where the pipe is passing through so that it can't be vandalized, and you avoid those community unrest in ensuring that you cover those communities. Because the danger that you'll do a project at the end, those communities will vandalize the pipe and do illegal or unauthorized connection in that. So we are careful in terms of ensuring those matters. The other issue that we note the participation of women. We note it concern Chairperson in that regard. The honorable member have observed something. We note that, and I think we will ensure then that our programs cover that. You also wanted to understand whether there are in our conduct there are clauses that deals with penalties. Yes, Chairperson, there are penalties. So specific contracts, for instance, in the solo, not just to highlight in some here, in the solo, we impose penalties for the contractor. In the Libode, we impose penalties. And what we use the standard, the general standard contract conditions as applied by the CITP, and we impose penalties in that instance. However, there are instances where the extension of time are unavoidable, as we alluded on the report, the inclined weather, those issues of community unrest. But in all those matters, if you look on those projects, in most instances, we ensure then that by all means, we are covering in terms of now, these shouldn't have cost implications that much in terms of the project. Again, I think there was a specific question to say, do we do public participation? So one of the fundamental principles of public participation in our project, we even have specialist institutional and social development, which is the community facilitators that first go and participate there. However, as much as we do that, we know that the social ills that are faced with our region and the country at large sometimes are unavoidable. For instance, to note few, the issue of cleaning, as we have alluded that it affected our project. But if you look on that, the communities of Cleaning were actually not city connection in their village. What they did, they went to the line where there's a adjacent, where there's a connection of electricity to our project and cut those poles. You see, so that they wanted that attention in that regard. Those are some of the issues that are quite critical, but we do those institutional and social development. We do public participation, even the leadership from the executive mayor, the speaker, and all, they have individuals and engagement with communities. But these are some of the strategies of all, they do those things. It's so unfortunate that this impact to our project in that regard. I think my colleague have responded with regard to the RTP standard. All our projects are basically in the comply with the RTP standards. There are certain committees within the IGR and compliance that where prior any project to be implemented, it goes to those AgTech and it is being evaluated and checked in terms of compliance. So whether we're doing a VIP, whether we're doing a standpipe, we comply to the guidelines in terms of the RTP standards where necessary in terms of that. And if they have to have a higher level of service, it complies in that regard. So their approval are based on that. And I think one of the fundamental principles that we've applied for, we said, rather than ensuring then that we rush for project implementation, let's focus more on planning in such that we even go to a detailed design and survey so that we are able to pick up whether in the area there will be future development, whether in the area, so that we don't find ourselves moving through a land in the community that is planned, so that we negotiate earlier, so that in the implementation, we don't have those issues that affect us in terms of complying with the guidelines, standards, and on the other side, ensuring that we are able to avoid any variation orders in that regard. With regard to IGR, I think my colleagues have alluded on that. We have a good relations so far. Treasurer, Cocta, Department of Water and Sanitation, everyone. We always sit and we communicate in the evaluation. We're part of that, and we ensure that all what we're doing, we work together. I think we've strengthened our relations in an intergovernmental framework in that. I think key issues are basically on the, I think, Chair, you also asked whether we have what is the mechanism of driving in terms of ensuring that we have the necessary capacity. We have a structured PMU, and as a water service authority provider, as a municipality, with an institutional arrangement that we're dealing with that. So the interface happen in that context. That we have a national, what you call, a compliance, and we ensure that we have a relevant capacity of ensuring that we monitor our projects, and also we take part with our partners in terms of that monitoring. So that is in existence. I think the last part on myself, which is more technical, is those projects that are not completed at the required time. You observe, Chair, that as much as those, we give the reasons, but on most instances, there are no per se costs that are associated with those, because we manage in that regard. There are no costs that are associated with those, but we're trying to resolve those challenges that on the ground. One member have asked a question, I think it was you, Chairperson, to say, do we have those community forums or those who come and claim what you call your 30% and all that? Yes, Chairperson, this is a national issue. We know that this thing started somewhere. They call themselves Amadela Oibona and all those people. But that's a challenge. We engage with the business sector and all those people, but it's a challenge that it's mushrooming even in our communities, and we are trying to deal with that and cause some delays in that regard. But as I'm saying that from the leadership point of view and from in those matters to ensure that we resolve those matters. I think those are basically technical issues that I wanted to respond on. Thanks very much, Chairperson.
Thank you for the responses, Executive Mayor. Anyone else? Who else?
Yes, I will give the CFO. The
Okay,
CFO.
Thank you.
Tatumuleko. Okay.
Okay, good morning, Chairperson, and the honorable members. Good morning, Executive Mayor, Acting member, and the other colleagues. I think the question that okay. The issue of the non-revenue water. I think the amount of money that we lose, that we report as water loss, I think last financial year, 2018-19, we generated about 15.8 million units, and we were able to build 10.8, so which constitute 68%. I think the remaining balance is non-accounted or non-revenue water, which is 31%, including water losses as well. One that goes around town, the rural areas around town, because they get the supply from. And then also mentioned that we are also the bulk meters for each and accurate in terms of measurement. I think the urgent issue raised by the Office of the Auditor General, Chairperson, we had a meeting because we were given this extension to submit our financial statements, for instance, end of October. So we have agreed in terms of our time frame, we got an opportunity, more opportunity to attend to those issues that were raised in 2018-19, so that we address them before the audit starts for the audit of 1920, so that we clear all those open balances. I think from my side, Executive Mayor, it is that, but I can just attest to what's a very frank and sound relationship in terms of and they are very much supportive. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we're finished. I think we're finished.
Okay, thank you. Who's next? Treasury? Do you want to, do you have anything to respond to based on the questions that we have asked?
There were questions on Mr. Chair.
Okay. Comments and questions. Honorable members, the members of the committee have raised questions after the presentation by the municipality only and MISA. So MISA, let me check with MISA if there's anything that they want to talk to based on those questions, because I want to give members a second bite so that when we answer, we finalize everything. MISA, do you have anything to say?
Yes, no, thank you very much, Chairperson. There was a comment, Chair, about MISA, and I think Honorable Dennis said they would want to know more about MISA. We welcome, Chair, that opportunity, and we will be glad to get an invite to come and share with the Select Committee on what MISA is doing and the achievements. I'm not going to dwell on that, Chair, now here. And there was also, Chair, a question around the non-revenue water. I think the CFO has also reflected on it. We have just circulated, Chairperson, a water balance report that we did in our Tambo for 2018-19, which detail exactly the non-revenue waters and the technical losses, as well as the losses relating to commercial losses and so forth. So I would request the members to just go through that report. But our report indicate that our Tambo, there is currently, as of 2018-19, they had 64% non-revenue water. 35% of that was a result of technical losses due to leakages and so forth. And then the rest is commercial losses, the issue of billed meters but not collected, and unbilled meters as well as areas where there are no meters at all. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Before I give members an opportunity to ask questions or clarities on the presentations which were made by Water and Sanitation and Treasury, I have something to ask, and I think it will be unproductive of us to let the AG not to speak in this meeting. What I want to know is the status of the municipality. What were the outcomes for the latest financial year that have been released? Is it improving, or is it regressing, or is it stagnant? And if there are matters raised on the findings, is there a plan? Because the institution needs to have a plan for mitigating on the issues raised or the findings or matters raised by the AG. One thing that we need to, all of us, learn is that we must learn to cut the cloth according to our size and be able to, no matter how difficult it is, to live with what we can afford or we have. Umamposha Makanya, when she described and painted a picture of how the municipality is, it's a deep rural municipality, very rural, former homeland, and I can relate to that because this is where I am now, the same situation where I'm speaking. So one can understand the situation that having to lead in such municipalities is difficult, but we need to make sure that we try our best. The willingness must be there, even if we come across those difficulties. Sis Machach, I don't know if it's you or it's someone from the municipality, spoke about the municipal manager who has been suspended. I'm not sure, I didn't hear from when and how far is the case, because that's one thing that causes problems, leadership instability. We need to have a stable leadership. So I don't know when was he or she suspended, how far is the case, or is the case closed? You're still in the process of appointing a municipal manager. Those are the few questions that I want to come on. Honorable members, let me check with you. Honorable Ryder, do you have anything that you want to say based on the latest input?
Absolutely, Chair. You know me well by now. I don't even need to put my hand up anymore. Thank you for the chance. Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Yes, I think that what we've seen today is a point to the fact that, look, I think we're at a slight disadvantage. It was a previous committee that went and visited and got all the background information. We now are successors in title and getting some information. So I don't think we have the full picture yet. And I think without the inputs from the AG and with limited inputs from Treasury, I think that I find myself not feeling exactly comfortable with the outcome of today's meeting and not feeling that we've achieved a huge amount. What is concerning to me is the fact that it's highlighted systemic problems that are probably on a bigger scale than what we're seeing right now. So again, a district where some things appear to be working and some things don't. I think, again, we would need to understand the specifics within that district, specifically with its locals and the relationship between them, to get a better feeling. I didn't really get comfort from the response from the district municipality that I asked about powers and functions, and I didn't get a great response. But that would also help inform us as to the direction that this district municipality is taking. But I think the bigger problem, the systemic problem that we're facing here, is the fact that we've got contractors that are not delivering on time. Treasury indicated the fact that there are issues with extensions, and I think the value for money came again, and there was a point from Treasury that a lot of this relates to time extensions. So some of that goes back to, what does your original contract say? Are there penalties for late delivery? What are the reasons for late delivery, etc.? But the reality is that this same scenario is replicated throughout the country. And I noted as well that some of the contractors whose names were listed on the presentation that we have assist municipalities around the country. So they're not there alone. So I think that perhaps we need to take a deeper look at this issue of the contractors that are working for municipalities, consulting engineers specifically, and have a look who are the serial offenders. So perhaps we need to look at Treasury and say to them, guys, you know, and I'm going to pick an example at random for GIB engineers. How many projects are they busy with around the country? How many of those are on time and how many are behind? Or in the last couple of years, you know, what has been their track record? And let's start forming a picture of who the competent engineering companies are that are able to deliver and who are consistently not meeting deadlines, not delivering on time. And perhaps that will inform us going forward as to how we need to set up these contracts. Because dealing with these matters on a piecemeal basis, you know, I think, you know, we've targeted our Tambo, we've targeted this particular district municipality today. So, which is fair enough. There are good reasons for that. But I think that you will find that they're not alone in the issues that they're struggling with. And perhaps we have a deeper systemic issue that is causing a problem. So yeah, let's look at the contractors that are being used by government across the board. Let's find out who's doing well. Let's work on what is working. Let's find out where things are working. Let's find out where things are not working. And perhaps that will help us to establish a model that can be rolled out a little bit more extensively, and we can solve this problem across the board. I think MESAs should have a good bird's eye view. If they are allocated across numerous municipalities, they should have a good bird's eye view, what's working, what isn't working. I think as well the team from Treasury that work with the conditional grants will also have an idea. Which municipalities have success stories? Maybe we can get them in, tell us what's working, and they can share best practice with us, and we can look at getting the municipalities that are not working to start adopting that best practice. Because at the moment, with all municipalities kind of, you know, following a general similar pattern, but not corresponding with each other on a lot of these issues, you'll find that best practice is not being shared. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to get done on these infrastructural projects and working out how we can best deliver them for the people of South Africa, because the reality is the massive costs and the time delays that are happening just aren't acceptable, and it's not what we expect from municipalities. We need to get service delivery out there for the people. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Ryder. On the contrary, I am satisfied that we had this meeting today. We were able to ask questions, engage, make follow-ups, and we did not do that as a matter of compliance because we got this information from the legacy report. For myself, I don't think we have wasted time. I don't think we have done anything unfair. I think we are together in trying to resolve issues and checking if whatever the municipality has tried to do in order to fix where problems were, it has yielded results. This meeting, very important meeting, and we also understand that we couldn't have all the ministers. Remember, last week we had the whole day with Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and she raised the concern. We know today it's a cabinet day, and I think if it wasn't the cabinet day, she was going to be here with us. But then let's not be hard on ourselves, Honorable Ryder. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're doing the best we can. And that time.
Nothing from my side, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mamarehani. Anything?
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. Nothing from me. Everything's okay, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Who's the Honorable Njadu? Honorable Njadu? Is Honorable Detroit on the line?
Honorable Chair, yes, thank you. I am here. I've been covered. Thank you so much.
Okay. Honorable Mkiva? He couldn't connect, Lubabalo.
It looks like he has left the meeting, Chairperson. He was part of the meeting all along, Chairperson. Himself and Honorable Njadu, they've been part of the meeting, but I don't see them now.
Okay, maybe they are experiencing connectivity problem. They've been kicked out. I think we have done justice to the members. We have been given enough time. Usually members are allocated 2 hours, but we said today, because the subject time to speak. Responses with issues that have been raised before we go to the next item. Lubabalo?
Honorable Writer's hand is up, Chairperson. I don't know whether Honorable Oka would like to say a few words.
Oh, I thought he's not in the meeting. Sorry, Honorable Okamp. Veli, let me give you first. Can I give Honorable Okamp first, Honorable Ryder? Honorable Okamp? Okay, take over, Honorable Ryder.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Yes, I know Vili's been struggling with his connectivity today. Chair, sorry, it's just a proposal then from my side. If the committee can look, at some oversight where we go to a municipality where mixed spending is done well and achieving what is expected, and then to a close by municipality where it's not working, perhaps as an oversight we can then get, hear from the horse's mouth and spend some time engaging, because I do believe it's a systemic issue that needs attention. So just a proposal from my side, Chair, for future for the committee to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that needs to be looked into when we are making our plans going forward. For now, we are focusing on this OR Tambo District Municipality as a result of the previous visit. Going forward, the committee needs to engage and consider your request. We'll do that. What about, oh no, water and sanitation? Do you want to comment? Anything? Sis Portia? Member Kanya, are you still in the meeting?
Few hands are up now, Chairperson. Machaji and Vespan.
Vespan and who?
And Machaji, Chairperson.
Okay. Can I give Vespan? Vespan is the part of the delegation. Can you introduce yourself, Mr. Vespan or Ms. Vespan?
Thanks, Chair. My name is Vespa Mavishi. I'm from the Department of Cooperative Governance. Yes, responsible for the MIG, the Eastern Cape.
Okay.
Yes. Chair, I just wanted to, and thanks, good morning to the Honorable Chair and honorable members, and to the executive mayor of Tambo, as well as the colleagues that are on the platform. I just wanted to highlight a few things from our side as Department of Cooperative Governance. I think, Chair, just to bring things on board, the visit by the committee in 2017-18 or in 2018, it was as a result of the stopping of the funds, 90 million, as you have said, Chair, when it comes to Tambo, in line with some of the issues or challenges that we have noted or observed when it comes to their, management of the utilization of the funds. And what we need to also, bring to the attention of the committee is that the municipality, since the stopping in 2017-18, we have seen a gradual improvement in terms of compliance issues, in terms of them as a municipality complying to the MIC conditions and MIC, requirements in terms of reporting, in terms of a process, that is to be followed by the municipality. But also just to highlight the issues that were raised, I think by Honorable Ryder, when it comes to whether MIC is funding only new projects or what. MIC is funding also existing projects, but also looking into refurbishment and as well as upgrading of existing, so that we are able to assist municipalities with functionality of those systems, because we know gradually as time progresses, we know that the infrastructure would need some bit of upgrading, particularly to accommodate the growth and other issues in those particular spaces. So yes, Honorable Ryder, MIC also looks into existing, not only new, but what we need to also get is to get the municipality to also focus a lot more in terms of existing infrastructure when it comes to the upgrading and communities with ensuring that those particular infrastructure that is there within their areas are actually functional and are able to. So what is also important, just to note and to also amplify from what Mr. Mashaba has said, from those working relationship in terms of provincial treasury, national treasury, Mr. And since 2017, we were able to come together and from time to like implementation, and you look at how we advise them to ensure that whatever project in terms of what they had committed to, but deployed in this sense, deployed an engineer, a full-time engineer within the Tambo region, one of the critical areas that we needed to assist them with. Also, included with that is project packaging, sequencing, and also preparation. Because we know that what we have seen in the past is that the municipality, it was a bit, it was having gaps. So, Mr. is only supporting the municipality with, some of these particular issues, particularly around, packaging, project, preparation, and also sequencing, because we have seen some of the issues that you are seeing, Chair, that, where projects are taking too long, is a manifestation of, the issues around planning, around sequencing, around packaging, and so on and so on. So those are the gaps that we are trying to assist the municipality with, in line with the challenges that we have seen in this particular municipality. But also just to say that in this particular financial year, that is 2021, as COPTA and national and together with provincial treasuries, provincial COPTA and NISA, and as well as national treasury, we have infused what we call a process of verification, where every invoice that comes or that is generated from the municipality, where they would receive it from the service providers around new projects, will be subjected to verification process. Any payment to ensure that there's a correlation or there's congruency around what the service provider is paying for and what is on the ground, so that we are able to go close those steps and ensure that we monitor closely. We ensure that there's value of for money, but also ensuring that there is impact within the municipality. As Ms. Makanya has said from the WS, the 5% I'm referring to the allocation, because what we have seen is that the years they want to make sure that there is implementation in all the municipalities, and that's why some of these projects necessarily impact within those communities. So we need to find a way of ensuring that, yes, we have a focused approach wherein we will do a certain project, complete it, and move to the next one, instead of spreading the money too thinly in such a waste of time, wherein we see that projects take too long and creating barriers within the municipality, is to ensure that there's a focused approach in terms of their program. And I think with those words, let me end here. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Madam Machachi. Ms. Mashweshwe, I'm told your hand was up. Lubaba,
Okay.
was it her whose hand was up?
Yes, mine was up. Thank you,
okay.
Honorable Chair. Mine is just to give clarity with regard to the question that you raised, Honorable Chair, with regard to the institutional dynamics within the district. We've noted that the MM was suspended on the 17th of June 2020, and our fear as National Treasury is a further decline with regard to the overall performance of the municipality, more especially the implementation of the audit action plan. However, as Treasury, we've never been provided with the details with regard to the time frames with regard to the suspension of the MM, and I think that can be responded by the district itself. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam. Auditor General of South Africa.
It doesn't look like AJ is represented yet.
Okay. The acting MM, Honorable Executive Mayor, I've asked a question about the outcome, your performance. Are you regressing or are you improving? And do you have a mitigation plan in terms of the findings of the Auditor General's audit, the outcomes? The Executive Mayor or the acting MM?
The acting MM must answer.
Officer, but you must be very close to it, Executive Mayor.
Yes, 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 yes.
Acting MM.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to...
Anjikbon. Your video is off.
I've made it on now.
Can you turn your video? Okay. maybe still coming. From my side, it's still not on, but you can continue. The thing is, our communication, they are very much strict coming to this. Whenever we're on this platform, whether you're live, either you're live or they are recording, so they need to have a picture or see who is speaking. It's very important that we switch on our videos, honorable members and colleagues. Acting MM.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to honorable members. The audit outcomes of the municipality we have not improved in the last 3 financial years. We have not regressed. We have remained in the qualified column. The most fact that qualifies us is the question of irregular expenditure. Now, in order to deal with that, we have compiled a management audit action plan, which we have now begun to implement. Most of the audit findings revolve around the constitution of the bid committees. The Auditor General noted that our bid adjudication committee were not constituted properly in that one, they did not have a supply chain management practitioner, and also the number of senior managers were not as per the regulation. So we have sorted that one out. We have reconstituted the bid committees according to the recommendations and according to the regulations. We, as I am saying now, we are implementing our management audit plan. However, Majaji has also from National Treasury has commented about our management audit plan, and they have made suggestions of which we have made adjustments to it. But to go straight to your question, we have remained for the past 3 years on the qualified audit opinion, and we are implementing plans to move from the qualified to unqualified. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you for your voice with the information. Executive Mayor, the acting MM is an accounting officer. I don't know if he understands the responsibility and the power that he has over his shoulder. And I've tried to explain about the video, and I don't know if he's certifying or what. He did not speak with his video on. And the members, I know they might not be happy because I've explained you must have your video on. I'm saying the acting MM when he was speaking. I want to take this opportunity, Executive Mayor, with your entourage, Treasury. Salga is not here, ne? Lubabalo? There's no one.
A person I did not recognize anyone from Salga, unless maybe it's a different name that I do not know.
Okay, I think yeah, they were going to raise their hand if they were here. Treasury, Executive Mayor with your entourage, MISA, COCTA, who am I leaving out? All the stakeholders. Water sanitation, very important department, which will make sure that people will have a better picture about the Eastern Cape. You go to education, you go to each and every department or any kind of service delivery. People talking not nice things about the Eastern Cape. Like I was saying, I can relate to what you are talking about. Having a deep rural municipality, which was a former homeland, which is suffering because of the previous regime. It's very difficult, and you are being punished, you're being blamed for what you have not done, you have not started, and it will take you quite some time. The only thing that I'm requiring is the willingness and the working together, the partnership to make sure that it's not like we can't, it's not like we don't. It's a pity that we cannot do it in the shortest space of time that people expect us to do. I really want to thank you very much, and stay safe. Stay safe. I've tried to check the social distance there. Mama Kanya, angisisho angibonanga kahle, but please, for our sake, be safe, stay safe. You can disconnect, and members of the committee will remain. Members of the committee. Oh, yeah, no. I can see. Well done. Well, thank you very much. Members of the committee, you can remain. We are going to deal with
Thank you very much.
Esther, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Honorable members, you have yes, sir.
Hello, Chair. Chair, I'm not sure if I'm not going to roll me out of order. I am looking at the time, Chair, as much as I would like us to consider and adopt the minutes, Chair. Considering the fact that we have exceeded our allocated time now, my worry is I'm not sure if this part is still going to be recorded or what. That's why I'm not comfortable with. I don't know what the person, and I don't see any colleague from IT here who is going to clarify us. I don't want us to do something which is not going to record it when we can still do it.
I can see records, Lubabalo. I can see record. I was going to suggest that we do only 2 sets because there are 4. I hate piling up work. Honorable members, do you agree? We do the 2 sets. The 30th of July is 3 pages and 26th of August, 7 pages, so that we don't pile up work.
Jane?
Who's that? Honorable Okam?
It's Honorable Toy, Chair. No, it's the Toy, Chair.
Yes, sir.
Chair, I just want to make a comment then. If we're going to only adopt the 2 of them, on the 3rd one for drought relief, there's just an amendment that must please be made. If I can highlight that at a later stage, then please.
The one on the 2nd of September.
Correct, yes.
Can I suggest that you communicate those amendments
100%.
through the Secretariat?
Thank you, Chair.
Please. Thank you. Thank you. Honorable members, for the 30th of July, on page 1, we haven't received any amendment or changes. Page 2, page 3. Can I get a mover?
I move, Chair.
Thank you very much. A seconder?
I second.
Thank you very much, sir. The minutes of the 26th of August, first page attendees. We were not made aware if there are wrong spellings or anything. Page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and page 7. Can I get a mover?
Chairperson, this is Dennis, and yes, I think that if we decide a line to thank the opposition for assisting the governing party with doing their work, then we can happily adopt the minutes.
I second.
Dennis, una le matsapa wena, una le matsapa. A seconder?
I second.
I second. I second.
Thank you. With no strings attached, Honorable Ogam. Thank you.
And myself.
Thank you very much for, and you too. Long time not hearing from you, Honorable Mama Rahani. Noted. Thank you very much, Honorable members. Thanks for your participation. We have a plenary at 2. Honorable Detroit, do you have plenary at 2?
There is, we're going to speak about, we're going to listen to a heritage presentation, Chair.
Oh, by the way, yeah, presentation, thank you. Thanks very much, honorable members, and thanks for your cooperation, your tolerance, your participation, your engagement. We always can work like this, agree and disagree where we need to disagree. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Chair and the colleagues.
Thank you. Bye.